Hello. So in this second part of adding a GUI to an ActiveRecord object, we're going to cover adding ActiveRecord objects to a ListView, which is a very, very useful thing to do, and you'll probably end up learning more about the ListView class than you will about the ActiveRecord objects, but there's nothing bad about that. The ListView class is a fantastic way to show a grid of data, or rows of data, which is perfect for ActiveRecord objects, because typically in a database you're going to have rows of data, and this will list your rows of data in a nice list view that you can then click on and edit and delete and do whatever else you want to it. So without further ado, we'll take a look at some code here. If you haven't seen the first segment of this, you should watch that first, because you need to know we created essentially created this screen here, which is one record of a database. This is a name, address, phone number, email. That's one row out of a table called people in our database. So we created that in the first segment, and in this segment I'm going to talk about this screen here. This here is a list view, which basically is like an Excel spreadsheet or whatever comparison you want to make. There will be one record on each row, and so this is a perfect match for ActiveRecord, because your ActiveRecord is going to return database rows, and then you can list them in a list view. Now, here's how we create this, what's going on here. The first name, the name is Buford Clinkscale, and his email address is bo@clink.com. Okay, that character string originates in our person class, actually. What we do is, when I've added this method right here, it's just overriding the toString method, and well, all it does is output the name field and the email field, okay, with parentheses around it. So that's how that list view knows how to display its knows how to display a character string that represents this person. Okay, so let's go back to the choose person. So choose person is a list view. Okay, it's subclassed from VR list view. So in its constructor, it's going to create the columns of the list view. Okay, in this one, there's just one column. It's person, and so what this is saying here is make a new list view with the one column, and the column's name is person, and the column type is of the class person. Okay, and this person corresponds to this class person. Okay, so as you can see, we're declaring list view with one column. Now, this show method does your typical load glade, and then it resizes the window, and then it adds itself it adds itself to the window. Okay, and when it's saying self, it's referring to itself, which is a VR list view. Okay, so this line adds, there's a scrolled window in Glade that's empty, and when you say add self, it's going to take this list view class, the choose person class, and add it to that scrolled window, which makes it appear in that spot. Okay, so now here we have what actually populates each row. So it says person, all, each, do, p. So it iterates through all the people in our database, which is these three people, and it adds a row for each one. So it says fill the person column, which is the same as this, with P. So there's actually one column of data. The type is person, which is our own class, and the column in the list view is populated with those objects. So you don't have to populate these list views with like strings or numbers or anything. You can populate it with any type of object. So we're populating it with a person object. Okay, so when a list view, VR list view has a lot of great features in it, and one of them is that if you populate a column with person objects, it's going to know to call the toString method to show in the grid, because it has no concept of how to show what a person should look like in the grid. So in order to give it a string to show, we added this toString method, which gets called when the list view is populated. So you'll see when we'll run the program again, all this code executes. It goes through each one. It adds each person to this, and so this column consists of person objects, and this is the output of the toString method. Okay, so there are actually a couple of different ways we can make our list view, and there's a couple of different features here. So this way we have person objects, which means they're clickable, and when we click them, what happens? It does the show method. Okay, so when you double click any of these people, the show method on the person object gets called. As you'll see, here's the show method, and it shows the window, and it lets you look at it and edit it or whatever you want to do to it. So that's how list views handle objects. Now there's another way to do this list view as well. You can add any type of column you want to this list view. So let's try changing this around. We're gonna instead of saying it's a person, let's say we add name as a string, and let's say email as a string, and phone as a string. Okay, so so now we have to populate this differently, because now we have 3 columns, and this is populating a person column, so we're likely to get an error because there's no person column there. So let's change this. Let's just say row equals add row, and I'll comment that out. We'll say row dot load object p. Now what the load object method will do is, instead of just inserting an object into that column, it's going to basically parse that object and look through that object looking for matches. And if it finds instance variables or active record fields or anything like that it can match, or methods, it's going to match them. So our person object has the field, if you remember our database, let me look at our database, has the field name, address, phone, email. Those are all fields in our table. So if you notice, the column names are name, email, phone. Those are all fields. So when we do this load object with a P, it's going to realize that this list view has a name column, and the active record object has a name column. And what it's going to do, it's going to fill in the name column with the name from the active record object. Same with email, same with phone. So let's give this a try and see if this works. Clicking run. So there, I clicked run, and here it comes. Now we have name, email, and phone. But now all of a sudden, these aren't objects. These are non-clickable. We could make them edit really easly if we wanted to, but the bottom line is they're going to be, in fact, why don't we, I'll do that right now. All we'd have to do that is just say column editable and true.
and that'll make and true will apply to all the columns because we're not specifying any columns. So we'll say we can try run now. See, now the columns will be editable. See, but it does us no good because these are just character strings, and they're not attached to anything. So we can edit them now, but that doesn't do us much good. But that could be very useful if you wanted to program, let's say, something where you could edit them. So let's suppose you don't want to go through the process of double clicking on this and having the person object show up. You'd rather just edit them in place like this. You'd rather just have a spreadsheet type thing where you can go and edit whatever you want and not have individual windows. Well, you can program that this way. You also have the option of adding methods to this. Like, for example, let's just call, we only have one method and that's toString. So why don't we, just as an experiment, we're going to call toString, and we're going to make that a string. Now that should fill in with the toString method. So let's try running it. And there it is. See, there's toString. It got, and that, by the way, that's the way these titles are generated. Is they're generated by basically by the name of this column. So this toString made this string here happen. Now, so you have that option, but again, this is editable, but all that's doing is updating the data in the model, and it's not really doing anything at this point. You can make it, you can program it to do something, but right now it's just sitting there. So let's bring back our person column, and that's going to be of type person. Okay. And now we have our person column back, so that will be a clickable column. So when we do this, let's go back to our original. We're going to add row with person filling in, and now you'll see it looks the same, but it's not the same because these are now objects. Okay, so you click on that, and they pop back up again because now this column person is an actual person object. Okay, so I think that's what I need to cover in this segment. If you need more information, go to visualruby.net, and I'll be signing off. Good luck.